Welcome to Silva Linings Playbook. I'm Scott Silva, and I'm joined happily by my son Marcus. How you doing, Marcus?
I'm doing good. It's been a minute.
Lots have happened, especially with your Giants. How you feeling about Brian Daboll being fired?
Let's get into it. Obviously, I think firing him was the right choice ultimately. I don't know if now was the best time, and I certainly don't think he's the only one who should have been gone or the first one who should be gone. I think Bowen needs to be out of New York immediately. The defense on paper should be phenomenal, and I understand the defensive backs have a lot of injuries, not a lot of depth, but they still got a decent amount of turnovers. They have freak athletes at every position in the defensive front, and yet they're still one of the worst. You can't help but look to the one who's coordinating them in situations like that. And I honestly feel like those are the people giving up the points when we're getting record setting losses for the least amount of likelihood in the opposing team winning that matchup, such as the Broncos 33-point
That was
comeback
terrible.
in one quarter, and not even a full quarter. um, that's
Yeah, that was
defense.
that was their fourth time that they've lost a double-digit lead in a game that they were winning, and
Yeah,
they wound up losing it. I think that, and I think honestly, I'm not. I wish they would have fired him at the end of last season and had a clean start with someone else. But he's Dayball's given all this credit for Josh Allen's success, and again, like in other sports, I find a lot of the times where these coaches are they've got great players like Phil Jackson is a great coach, right? But he's set up with Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and Tony Kukoc in Chicago, and then he goes to L.A. and he has Shaq and Kobe, and of course these guys are the most amazing. And then he comes to New York, and what happens? Nothing, right? So Brian Daboll, I think, has got a similar thing. Like think back of was it Adam Gase, the
I
guy
was
who was
just
coaching
about to
Miami,
say
who came to the Jets, and he got all this credit for Peyton Manning, and then he came to New York. In
it's
Miami, he
horrible.
wasn't good. In New York, he wasn't good. And it's like these coaches are given credits when you have exceptionally talented uh, players that would be good no matter who's coaching them, just because they're freaks of nature and excel. So I think Dayball's been given so much credit for Josh Allen, and it's taking away from Josh Allen's actual credit. So I understand why they thought he would be the guy to be in New York, but as we see, Daniel Jones is excelling now in Indianapolis. Uh, Although the last 2 weeks his turnovers have started to come back,
He's back,
but
but
you know what I mean? You get what I'm saying? Like I
yeah,
I also think the bigger thing they fired him now was because in 4 of the 7 games, uh, Jackson Dart's been in the blue tent to be evaluated over concussions. And, they already were fined in that Eagles game when he went in the tent, and Scadaboo went in the tent, and they got fined you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever. It's like $150,000 or something. And then in the game against Chicago, he got a concussion, stepped out, then came back in, played 2 more plays, and then had to leave. So he had a concussion, came back on the field, then had to leave. And then I think that's what the point where the owners went, okay, Jackson Dart's really important, and you keep putting him in situations where he's hurt, and this kid's trying to help this guy keep his job, and I understand why he was wanting to go on the field, and he's a competitor, and that's why he's probably going to be a pretty good quarterback. Uh, but I think the injury thing, with the concussion, and then just like the poor decision making. I don't know. That game in Chicago was just. I'm not surprised by it. I get what you're saying, But I think Wellington Mara is like, I gotta protect Jackson Dart from Brian Dayball.
Yeah, I mean, when so many of the carries and look like scrambling, whatever, that's one thing. If it's on him, the play breaks down and you got to do it. But when there's so many designed quarterback wrongs, that's where it kind of becomes an issue because you're deliberately putting him in the position to be free to take a big hit. And that's not necessarily what you want out of your rookie quarterback. Um, it
Yeah, I
obviously,
read something like the percentage of him since Scadaboo got hurt, like the percentage of him with design runs went up to something like, you know, 23% or something like that. I may be wrong about the number, but it was something like, it was definitely a significant uptick from like, he had like 7% design runs and then 10%. And then it was like 13 or 23. It was some huge number in this last game against Chicago where he was running the ball. Like he was the main ball carrier. They don't trust Tyrone Tracy. They don't trust uh Singletary, right?
yeah,
That's Devin Singletary. So they didn't trust either one of them, and they're running this guy, and and he did have a rushing touchdown right in the game, but it's like he got hurt. They pulled him
rushing
out.
touchdown in every game, pretty much.
Yeah, that true. Which is again, I think my thing is he's done enough to show that he can play in this league, and they should just play Jameis the rest of the way and let this guy's head stay clear and just heal up. They're not going to the playoffs. There's no point of him
No,
playing.
no, he should not see the field again this season, and that's not a knock to him. That's just like it's over. There's nothing to play for. Get those reps in practice, just prepare for next year. And I know that's something that New York football teams alike have been saying for years and years now. But it's truly we have something special going. We have the real exciting whites with Cam Scadaboo and Jackson Dart. Our defensive front, the linebackers, edge rushers, all exciting athletes who we want to see more out of. Another thing I'm mad about that penalty getting the first official sack of Abdul Carter wiped off the board,
Oh,
which
I didn't even register that.
yeah, he's statistically not doing great, which people are joking like how dare he ask for number 56 before the season, but also he's one of the most effective QB pressure defenders. He just can't, I guess, secure the sack, which is an annoying thing as a former defensive player to be in their face, get there, but just can't be the one to bring them to the ground. They rush into another defender. It's annoying, but
But he was
he's
getting a lot
good.
of pressures. I mean, I think the job though, like who do you think who would you want to see them bring in as a coach? Do you have any ideas? I'm thinking like maybe like Mike Holmgren. He's had a good success with quarterbacks. He wins games. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's won a Super Bowl. They but
I mean,
he got them double
there's
digit wins every year. So maybe something like that. Or you think they're going to go like somebody like who's been a Giants coach, like maybe like I heard like Pierce, who's the guy who used to be the linebacker for them, who's coach of the Raiders.
yeah, and I think that's a type of coach who the team would respond well to, not just because being a former Giant, but just kind of what he did with Vegas that year there as the interim coach, where it really changed everything. All the players gravitated towards him. He had that raw energy and hype that, really got everyone going.
And
Um,
maybe he could have that Mike Vrabel effect. Like
yeah,
Vrabel's had that kind of effect with the team, like, because he's a guy player, they respect him because he played the game.
well, that's where I kind of agree with. I wish we fired Dable last year because getting Vrabel in would have been amazing.
Easy
But
now.
but
Don't ruin I know your team's struggling, but don't like take my coach away now. Like,
well, this would have been before he went up to shipping up to Boston. But I, there's a few names I hear tossed around. I mean, obviously Lane Kiffin, if he ever were to leave Ole Miss
But
or
those
deny the
college
Florida
coaches don't.
salary,
Those college
but they don't.
coaches don't really come in and like.
But let me finish with what I'm going on.
Sorry,
Like they have Jackson Dart. I understand that connection. He has coached in the NFL before. I don't really see that happening. Um, I honestly think he's staying at Ole Miss, so I don't see that. I've heard Mike McCarthy, accomplished coach with Green Bay, and then decent coach in Dallas, but not good enough to get it all done and stay there. He's has a lot of experience, has a track record of developing some pretty great quarterbacks, such as Aaron Rodgers. Um, I
again,
think
Aaron
he
Rodgers
would,
probably would do well with anybody, but I think these coaches
well,
get more
besides the
credit sometimes.
Jets, but
Yeah, they're a
he
mess.
he's I think he would be a good candidate. I've heard Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame. They were trying to get interviewed in, and he's connected with some of the staff. Once again, I don't see him leaving the school he's at in the situation that he's kind of bringing Notre Dame back to relevancy. But a younger coach who may be able to relate better to the players on the field um, could always be an asset. Uh, I've heard some crazy things up to Bill Belichick,
Oh God, I think
but
that'd be a
no,
mistake.
no, keep him far away. If he can't adapt to the new league with college, college is the NFL now. It's been enough years post all these old heads of the 90s and 2000s that it is the era of the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, the you know Josh Allen's. It's a new, more exciting hype game. A lot more diva energy all around the field, not just from select few receivers like back in the day, and DBs. I feel like you need someone who's adapted to the times more. Um, and John Gruden, talk about someone who has a
Ooh,
connection with Jackson Dart.
does
The
he?
not connection
Or did he
coaching
just do
wise,
that
but
quarterback
he
show
did that
thing with him?
quarterback thing, but he was kind of glazing him in that. And I feel like, he clearly is high on him as a quarterback. I think he has that fiery energy. He has a track
I
record. He
forgot about
was,
him.
he was good in well, he was good in for the Raiders the first time. As you should know, he gave you that first Super
Oh,
Bowl for the Patriots by the Tuck
he
rule.
didn't give him anything. That was a
That's
fumble.
just-
Everybody knows it. Come on.
well, yeah, by the rules, but still, he was there, one game short, and then they ship him off to Tampa Bay, and he goes right to a Super Bowl with them. I, obviously his last time coaching wasn't too great, and there was some
That's an interesting
controversies.
one.
But I would not be mad in the slightest if John Gruden is announced as the head coach of the New York Giants for the
I
2026 season.
completely forgot about him. I don't know. Like he had that issue that got him kicked out of the Raiders. Like what are the emails that kind of.
Hey, there's plenty of emails that got swept under the rug in such situations. So I think we could do that for a football coach.
uh Yeah, that's an interesting. I totally forgot about Gruden. That would be interesting. I
I,
heard them saying
I
thing
like him.
like trying to bring back people like with Tom Coughlin. Like that's before your time, but when Tom Coughlin was like the coach. Well, it wasn't before your time because he was the coach when they beat the Patriots in
He
Super
was
Bowl.
the coach that I grew up with.
Right,
I don't
but
claim no
they're
Ben
not
McAdoo
bringing
as my
Tom
coach.
Coughlin back, but coaches associated with his staff that have gone on and a continued coach, and to bring one of those in who know the way the Giants operate and know the Giants ownership team and whatever. I don't know. I almost
Let
feel
Eli
like
Manning be the head coach at this point.
if he, yeah, that'd be interesting too. That'd be interesting too. But like, I also feel like a lot of these times, like even, I mean, right now, like in the case of New England, bringing Vrabel back, like it didn't work with Gerard Mayo, who knew the Patriot way and whatever, and he just didn't know what he's doing. And then they bring Vrabel back, who knows the way, knows the winning times of the organization, and bring him in. He'll bring in the right culture, and he did well in Tennessee. And I don't know,
I
he and the
mean,
GM and the
he
ownership
brought
just,
them back.
yeah. And but like bringing him back seemed to work. So maybe like Pierce being one of those guys who played on those teams and did coach and did have some success at first, at least with the Raiders, maybe bringing someone like that who could be a player's coach, whatever that
Yeah,
means, you
even if
know,
he's not the head coach, get him on the staff. Because quite honestly, I want a clean house by the end of this season. Mike Kafka's not the worst offensive coordinator, but I don't see any of them really being there next year. Especially Bowen, he's gone. He better be. But
the defensive coordinator. You,
defensive coordinator. But Mike Kafka, another funny thing with him is that he's having Jameis Winston start this week, his first week as the
but
interim head
that
coach,
should have happened.
and and they were showing his like last college game or whatever at Northwestern in like Rose Bowl or whatever game it was. He had like 400 plus passing yards, 5 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. So they're saying it's meant to be because that's a Jameis Winston performance.
I heard somebody did the thing like maybe he'd have like 6 or 7 uh touchdowns to interceptions in the game because they were just trying to get that 6-7 thing into the thing. But like Jameis he could throw 6 touchdowns and 7 interceptions in the game. Like he
Oh
that's
yeah.
what he does.
But he also could come out and absolutely dice it up next week. Like he is not a bad
Well,
quarterback.
they're not. I think Slayton's out too, so they're not even going to have. They're going to be down another receiver. So I don't know. They're really shorthanded in the wide receiver room right now, and the running backs are. I mean, the tight end is probably their best receiver right now. Johnson, he's
Oh
probably the
yeah.
best thing. So I don't know. Maybe he'll have a big day. I wish if I needed a tight end for my fantasy team, I'd probably throw him in the lineup this week just because Jameis is gonna throw the ball all over the field. I think.
Oh yeah. It's no, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously Jameis Winston is not I'm not saying he's the best quarterback, but he's probably my favorite quarterback of all time.
Well, he's a
He's
cartoon
just
character. His press conference when he was singing Hamilton the other day. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
it's hilarious. It's funny. And honestly, this is what we need because, when the Giants sucked last year, and then we got, by the grace of God, Tommy DeVito, who
Oh,
was just a funny, New Jersey Italian. And
he's Drake Mace back up.
but then, yeah, I saw that. But, he actually ended up being the best quarterback on the team that year, I guess, year or 2 years ago now. So I feel like if nothing else, hopefully this is what Jameis Winston is. It's just a fun way to end off another miserable
Well,
season
he's gonna
and,
bring the good energy to them for
get a
sure.
couple laughs, get some good confidence in the team. Um, I, no, I'm happy to see it because I'm kind of past the point of hope. Losing Scadaboo, losing Dart, losing Neighbors, losing the whole
Yeah,
defensive backs. I feel like
that's like half of my fantasy team too because I had Scadaboo and Neighbors. So like I've been trying to replace them in our league for
yeah.
don't get me started about that.
But it'll be something to see. I'm definitely looking forward to next year. I feel like for the first time, I mean, there was hope after the draft going into this season, but kind of false hope. I feel like I have legitimate faith in a good season next year, pending everyone's health. Um, I think even if the Giants team was fully healthy, I can't say we'd have that much of a better record than we already do, given the coaching and given the just Giants' terrible luck in fourth quarters of games.
Well,
Not even just this season, but historically.
my take after that Denver game was like that's the kind of game that just you can't get that taste out of your mouth. You can't get over that. Like that's the kind of stuff like like players in that game who were on the field when scores happened against them late, like they're waking up in the middle of the week and having nightmares, having cold sweats, like like that was the kind of game that's like an imprint on your soul for the rest of your life because they had that game in the bag. It was like,
But that's like, I mean,
see, and that's coaching. That's
that
coaching.
is coaching because you don't go up, you know, 19-0 and then end up having 30 points or whatever and losing the game. That's coaching because it takes good athletes to accomplish, you know, the scoring part of it and the holding the other team off the scoreboard for that long. And if your players are giving up and losing the morale because they're up so big against the number one team in the AFC at that point, or number two, forget whatever, it's them or
I mean,
Colts,
they're
but
still
doesn't
up there.
matter.
They're 8-2, right? So they're still right up there.
Yeah. Um,
The worst eight
but
and two of them all, Denver, as far as I mean, because their offense looks horrible the last 4 or 5 weeks, but their defense
well,
is crazy
off
good.
their offense looked horrible. Peyton Manning's last year, and they won a Super Bowl. So
Well, they're kind of repeating that. They're finding ugly ways to win, but the Giants are definitely not finding ugly ways to win, and that's why Brian Dable's out of a job.
they're
It's,
finding beautiful ways to lose. It's the most the you would if you put on some of these Giants games just for the second, third quarter of the game, you would be like, oh, this is 2011. This is 2007. This is a playoff team. Surely, with all these athletes, all these freaks on this team, uh, you know, whooping the defending Super Bowl champs, you know, shutting out the Broncos. This is a Super Bowl caliber team. And then, you know, there's a fourth quarter to be played, and it's just been horrible time and time and time again. And it's ridiculous. It's time for change. They need to execute whatever rebuild New England did, and we needed the Giants just need to do something, which is something they haven't done since that one fluke season in 2022, thanks to Saquon giving
mm,
Dable Coach of the Year that year.
right,
Um,
and then they rewarded Daniel Jones and left Saquon out in the cold, and whatever. Then he wins a Super Bowl the first year with the Eagles, so good for him. I'm so happy he got that, but the Giants did him dirty. As I'll say it till my dying
and
day.
that's
Like,
Joe Shane who needs to go. And my last point on the Giants for this episode is part of me feels like Joe Shane got rid of Dable because it was, a him or me situation. If he didn't fire the coach, I feel like Mara might get rid of him because he's made
he
some
still might.
horrible decisions. And yeah, but saving face. He's see, it's not me, it's him. And if they, Kafka gets a fluke win with Jameis Winston next week, then he could be like, oh, see, the table was the issue. But everyone needs to be gone. Everyone in this organization, they just need a reset, keep the new young stars, and just start from the bottom.
Well, I think I'm in agreement with you, at least the defensive coordinator, because again, just let's just talk about the Denver game, which we mentioned, and the Chicago game that we mentioned. Like those are games with big leads late, couple minutes left. Your defense couldn't get off the field and gave up crazy scores to both of those teams. So defensive coordinator definitely making bad calls, uh, that putting these guys in bad positions. And they are super talented. They've probably got one of the best athletically, you know, linebacking cores in there. They're I think their secondary is a little banged up. If you wouldn't know better than me because I'm not following the
Yeah.
Giants as close as you, but I feel like their secondary's banged up. Uh, there's one particular guy. Oh, I can't think of who his name right now, but he's always getting burned. He got burned in that Denver game. To give it, like there's some guys
Well,
they got to
some
get out of there. They got to get him out of there.
they need. I think this may be the draft. You know, you could argue offensive line protect Jackson Dart, but I think if first round is O line, it needs to be defensive backs. Corners, safeties, hybrids. What's his name? Isaiah Simmons type strong safeties or
Mm.
Jamal Adams strong safeties where they also play linebacker. Um, I think that there's better utilization for their edge rush based defensive line. It's really all defensive ends and linebackers, and then you have Dexter Lawrence, who is fast enough to be a defensive end anyway. I think technically played defensive end a little bit at Clemson, uh, but it's just better scheming. You got the athletes, you got the fan support. You just got to do something. But that's where I'll leave that.
I think they should get offensive line help, and I think they should keep losing so they get a high draft choice again.
I think they should get, the offensive line help would be good, obviously. But I think the focus of the draft does need to be the defensive secondary. Um, Not really sold on anybody there. We got
What if they get
some.
that wide receiver Smith from Ohio State?
That would be good. Having Neighbors and him, that'd be a crazy 1-2.
That would be
Wandale
sick.
Robinson as a 3. Darius Slayton. Well, I guess him and Darius Slayton, on and off, depending on if they're both on the team next year. Uh, there's a lot of possibilities, but I think that getting a new defensive coordinator, and letting him kind of pick his pieces that he's going to build his defense of the future with, um, I think that would be good. Obviously, get Dart protected, and yeah, a lot of work to do. But
Yes, a lot of work to do. Let's wrap this one up. That's it for our take on the Giants and Brian Daboll being fired. We'll see you guys in the next episode.